Yeah, you can start with brief prayer, Madhya, and continue. Yeah.
Okay. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachani Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Chaitanya Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advait Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So today we are going to start from text 71. Heading up to the point of spontaneous love, the Lord said, "This is all right, but if you know more, please tell me." Text 22. A man becomes purified simply by hearing the only name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose lotus feet grace the holy places of pilgrimage. Therefore, who remains to be attained by those who have become his servants. Text 73. By serving you constantly, one is freed from all material desires and is completely pacified. When shall I engage as your permanent eternal servant and always feel joyful to have such a perfect master? Text 74. Hearing this from Ramanand Raya, the Lord again requested him to go to step further. In reply, Ramananda Raya said, "Loving service to Krishna rendered in fraternity is the highest perfection." Text 75. Neither those engaged in the self-realization of appreciating the Brahman effulgence of the Lord, nor those engaged in devotional service while accepting the Supreme Personality of God as ad master, nor those under the clutches of Maya, thinking the Lord an ordinary person, can understand that certain exalted personalities, after accumulating volumes of pious activities, are now playing with the Lord in friendship as cowherd boys. Prabhuji, would you scroll up? Text 76. The Lord said, "This statement is very good, but please proceed even further." Text 77. Ramananda Raya continued, "O Brahmana, what pious activity did Nand Maharaj perform by which he received the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna as his son? And what pious activity did Mother Yashoda perform that made the absolute personality of Godhead Krishna call her mother and suck her breast?" Text 78. The favor Mother Yashoda obtained from Sri Krishna, the bestower of liberation, was never obtained even by Lord Brahma or Lord Shiva, not even by the goddess of fortune, who always remains on the chest of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. Text 79. The Lord said, "Your statements are certainly getting better and better, one after the other. But surpassing all of them is another transcendental mellow, and you can speak of that as the most sublime." Text 80. When Lord Sri Krishna was dancing with the gopis in the Ras Lila, the gopis were embraced around the neck of the Lord's arm. This transcendental favor was never bestowed upon the goddess of fortune or the other consorts in the spiritual world. Nor was such a thing ever imagined by the most beautiful girl in the heavenly planets, girls whose bodily luster and aroma resemble the beauty and fragrance of lotus flowers. And what to speak of worldly women, who may be very, very beautiful according to material estimation. Text 81. Suddenly, due to the feelings of separation, the Lord Krishna appeared among the gopis, dressed in yellow garment and wearing a flower garland. His lotus feet was smiling, and he was directly attaching the mind of Cupid. Text 83. There are various means and processes by which one may attain the favor of Lord Krishna. All those transcendental processes will be studied from the viewpoint of comparative importance. Text 83. It is true that whatever relationship a particular devotee has with the Lord is the best for him. Still, when we study all the different methods from a neutral position, we can understand that there are higher and lower degrees of love. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, 83 till 83, right, Prabhu?
That's good, Madhya. Thank you so much, Madhya.
Prabhuji.
So we'll go through. First, we'll discuss the context briefly, and then we'll go through the verses again. So the context is here that Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is on the South India tour. He started from Jagannath Puri and he visited a couple of places before Alarnath Temple and Sakshi Gopal Temple also he visited. And after that, he went to South India tour. He was going on the way. He happened to be on the bank of the Godavari River, and he met the recording is there. Yeah, good. On the bank of the Godavari River, he met Ramananda Rai because the recommendation was given by Saram Bhattacharya to meet him because he was a great devotee, Ramananda Rai. In fact, Ramananda Rai is one of the intimate associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Lila. So, so that Ramananda Rai he meets, and then initial meeting, lot of other Brahmanas were there. So they could not exchange intimate loving feelings at that time. So they meet again later in the evening. So that time, interestingly, their conversation starts with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asking a high-level question. He asks, recite verse from his revealed scriptures concerning what is the ultimate goal of life, what is the sadhya of life, like that. That's where the discussion starts. And then this is still the context. We'll get into the today's verses. So then Ramananda Rai responds by quoting the verse from Vishnu Purana that says, executing prescribed duties as per Varna and Ashrama. That means whatever we're doing, like Varna means Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. According to that Varna, we perform our duties. And also Ashrama. Ashrama means like Grihastha Ashrama, Brahmachari, Vanprastha, Sannyasi. According to that, we perform according to that. That is what is best, like that he says. Then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Varnashrama is not transcendental, but it refers to three modes of material nature. So, where one acts according to his particular tendency or a particular nature, particular psychophysical nature, like that. So, go further, he says. Eho bahya, he uses the word eho bahya. That means this is external, like that. And then, and after saying that, go further, he says, right? Go deeper. Then Ramananda says, Krishna Karmarpanam, offering the results of one's activities to Krishna. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, this is also external, eho bahya. Why? Although somebody is recognizing Krishna as supreme, that's why he's offering the results to Krishna, right? Still, the activities are on the material platform, he says. Why? Because they're not doing it for Krishna while doing the activity. That's the point. This is substantiated with the Bhagavata 9.27 verse. Yad karoshi yadasnasi, that was. What do you do for me, like that, right? That was. Then he says, okay, go further, he says, go, this is also external. Then he goes to Swadharma Tyaga, renouncing one's occupational duties, he says. But then he says, this is also external only. Remember, this is the famous verse in Bhagavata, Sarvadharma Parityajya, Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. So give up all occupational duties and surrender to me, like that. Even that verse, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says external. In this context, we'll find out more. So he says, why is external? Because without spiritual knowledge, simply detachment, giving up all the religion, occupational duties, is another side of material existence, he says. It means we should have knowledge also and giving up also. Both knowledge and renunciation both should be there, like that. Then he says, oh, so you are saying knowledge also should be there? Okay, then he quotes another verse. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Nasuchiti Nakankshati, 1854 verse. Then by that he says Jnana Vishta Bhakti. That means Bhakti mixed with empirical knowledge. Jnana, he said, right? Jnana should be there. That's why he says Bhakti mixed with knowledge. Then he says Bhakti mixed with mental speculation is not pure Bhakti. So this is also external, he says. Now, then he says, okay, then Bhakti without Jnana, Jnana Sunya Bhakti. But pure devotion service without any touch of speculative knowledge, he says. By quoting the Burma's praise 10.14.3, Bhagavatam 10.14.3, Gnane Prayasam Udapasya Namanti Eva, that was his quotes. And he says, this is better actually. This is right, he says. What is right? Pure devotion service without mixture of any mental speculation. This is right, he says. Until now, he's saying this is external, this is external. Now he's saying this is right, eho haya. And this is a basic principle of perfection, he says. One has to practice it to make further progress. That means Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted this as okay now. But you need to be better than that, but this is okay. What is okay? Pure devotion service without any mental speculation like that. Then uh, Ramananda Rai goes further. He says, Prema Bhakti, that means devotion service in in accordance with the regulative principles and also with Shraddha or faith like that. Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, he says. Then he says, this is right. Because regulative principles are necessary until dormant Krishna consciousness is awakened. Is until that means until it becomes spontaneous devotion service like that. Until it becomes to Raga says, spontaneous attraction is not there. Till the time Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti is important like that, he says. But he encourages all the time to go further like that. Then let me see. Next verse is Then he describes Prema Bhakti, not Vaidhi Sadhana, but Raga Bhakti. That means spontaneous loving service without any extraneous endeavor, out of intense greed for Krishna like that. So then this is says by quoting Padjavali verse, Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Mati. This is the verse Hariparshad Prabhu, when he was there, he was talking about how Sri Prabhupada took this verse to defend the interreligious society for Krishna consciousness, like that he said. This is the verse. So he says, this is also right, but go further like that. Why? He says, unless there is an intimate relationship between the Lord and the devotee, the loving affairs are not actually fixed. That means he has spontaneous attraction for Krishna, but there's no intimate relationship between Krishna and devotee at this stage, he says. Then he quotes Dasya Prema. That's where we are in 31st verse now. Let me share my screen also. Yeah. Basically, the next three verses, 71, 72, 73, he talks about spontaneous loving service, like described before. But remember, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said there's no relationship, intimate relationship. He says this relationship as a dasya, that means as a servant, between servant and master, like that. We know there are 5 primary rasas, right? Santa rasa, that is relationship with neutrality with Krishna. That means then Sakya rasa, relationship with a brother, like a brother fraternity. And then as a parent, Vatsalya rasa. And then as a conjugal relationship, like Radharani and Krishna, Gopis and Krishna, like that. So he's going to, from the here, is going one at a time. One by one, each level is going next like that. So he starts with Dasya Prema, where he's quoting Srimad Bhagavatam verses, Stotratna verse, like that, to confirm that spontaneous loving service and servitude as exchanged by master and servant, he says. So to quote that, he gives example that a man becomes purified simply by hearing the holy name of Krishna. This is the verse that in Ambrish Maharaj pastimes, when Durvasa Muni reaches Ambrish Maharaj finally, he says like that. Simply by hearing holy name, a person becomes purified. But if a person is already become a servant of Krishna like that, what to speak of them? He is great at attainment, he can attain, like that he says. And then there's another verse, by serving Krishna constantly, one is freed from all material desires and is completely pacified. So when shall I engage as your permanent eternal servant and always feel joyful to have such a perfect master like that. So these 3 verses are basically saying that spontaneous love in with intimate relationship as a servant, like Dasya Rasa, like that is describing. So Krishna says this is right, but go further like that. Then he says now he goes to Sakya Rasa, loving relationship to Krishna rendered in fraternity is the highest perfection. That means like friends, like Gopa friends of Krishna, like that. So that's what he suggested. But why does he, for miss to mention one thing, yeah, when Dasarasa mentioned by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what he says is, the reason Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says to go further is, he says, there is servant is always afraid of master and respectful to him. So the relationship is not so intimate, is saying basically, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying. So that's when he talks about Sakya Rasa next. And then, because in Sakya Rasa, there's no worry about, nothing about being afraid of the master like that. They treat them equally. Krishna, friends treat the Krishna equally like that. So then he says, yes, correct. This is best actually. He says, Eho Uttama is topmost like that. He says, there's no fear. But there's a want of increased affections. But the devotees in that rasa also wants to increase affection, more increase affection like that, he says. So that's when he goes to the next level, which is Vatsalya Prema. Actually, this is an example he gives about how Sakya Rasa is better than Sukadeva Goswami is saying, what great fortune these Gopas have. They get to play with Krishna personally like that. That is the verse he's quoting from Srimad Bhagavatam. Then he says this statement is very good, but please proceed even further after he tells Sakya Rasa, right? Then he says loving service to Krishna in parental relationship like that. And he gives the example of Nanda Maharaj, how he's a father, he's so greatly fortunate. And Yashoda Mataji as a mother, how so greatly fortunate that Krishna calls her as mother. Krishna drinks her breast milk like that. That's why he's saying Vatsalya Prema is best like that, by quoting these Srimad Bhagavatam verses from 10th chapter, 10th canto, basically, both of them. He says the position of Mother Yashoda was the the favor Krishna gave to her was not even obtained by Lord Brahma or Shiva. Like that he says. Then there's still want of complete freedom. This is also best, he says. Krishna says this is also very good, but to go further like that. Then he describes about prema or love of the gopis, basically conjugal love of Krishna, conjugal love for Krishna like that. So in this one, he describes conjugal attachment for Krishna is the topmost position in love of Godhead. That's how he's describing in 79th verse. And then he quotes the example of gopis, because gopis are treated in conjugal love for Krishna. He says when gopis were in Rasa Lila, gopis were embraced by Krishna in his arms. So that great favor was not even obtained by Lakshmi Devi or other consorts in the spiritual world. Forget about any, forget about beautiful girls in the material world, in the earth planet. Even heavenly beautiful girls also cannot imagine such great fortune. Like that he describes about conjugal love for Krishna. Then what happened during that time? Suddenly, uh, yeah, basically during the Rasa dance, we know that Krishna disappeared for some time, seeing that gopis are feeling they are very special like that. And then when the gopis are lamenting fully in his separation, then Krishna appears again dressed in yellow garments and wearing a flower garland. And he was smiling. He was directly attracting the mind of Cupid, like that is described beautifully. So he's still describing the position of conjugal love now. So, and he says there are various means and processes by which one may attain the favor of Lord Krishna. All those transcendental processes will be studied from the viewpoint of comparative importance. So in this verse is preparing our groundwork. Let me see if there's a purport. There's no purport. Yeah. Next verse, preparing for the next verse. Basically, there's a comparison made about different rasas, even though all of them are spiritually highest transcendental platform, spiritual platform like that. So it's true that whatever relationship a particular devotee has with the Lord is the best for him. Prabhupada writes elaborate purport for this verse. We'll go through it. He says, still, from a neutral position, we can look at different methods, and then we can understand which is higher and lower grades of love like that. So in this purport, interestingly, Sri Prabhupada talks about, first portion of the purport, he talks about how if somebody is doing bhakti or somebody is telling Srimad Bhagavatam for money or to gain followers, or somebody is doing kirtan to get money, like that, that is not a real devotion service like that. Prabhupada writes in the purport. And then he describes how devotion service, uh, people we cannot compare People who are doing unalloyed devotion with people who are just, uh, for example, I give some examples. One is that some people maintain temples as a priest just to get some money, it seems. To so that in the name of deity, they'll get money like that. So that's not acceptable practice, he says. That's not a comparison of a pure Vaishnava. So like that, a pure devotee renounces all material enjoyment and completely dedicates himself to the Guru and Krishna, like that he describes. Mm, Basically, in this section, Prabhupada is comparing all the pseudo devotees to pure Vaishnava, and he's saying they're not great like that. And then he says two important points. One is that when a devotee is situated in Dasaras, Sakyaras, or Vatsalaras, or Madhuryaras, any devotee, Santaras, they're happy in that position. It's not that they're hankering for when can you go to the next rasa like that. That's one point he makes. Second point he makes is when devotee becomes mature and when becomes free from material attachment, that is the time they achieve the Swarupa Siddhi. Swarupa Siddhi means spiritual perfection like that, constitutional position like that. That means our original position of being a servant of Krishna, being wanting to please Krishna like that. And that Swarupa Siddhi will be in one of these five rasas, Santarasa, Dasarasa, Sakyarasa, or Madhuryasa like that. So that's what Prabhupada describes. So now, in all of these rasas, doing service is a common factor. That means enjoying mood is gone when somebody gone to this one of the rasas like that. So that is the important principle Prabhupada establishes. And they're all on spiritually perfect platform only. They're all on transcendental platform only. Still, from a neutral platform, there is a gradation between them like that Prabhupada says. But still Prabhupada repeatedly says, still we should not think that they're in material level. They're a very high-fi spiritual platform like that he says. And then he talks about how mm, beyond Santarasa, little bit superior is Dasarasa. Beyond Dasarasa, little bit superior is Sakyarasa. Beyond this is Vatsalarasa. Beyond that is Madhurasa, like that he discussed. And another thing to note is each successive rasa that devotee participates in with Krishna has elements of the previous rasa also. But one common thread we discussed already is serving. That is why, as practicing devotees, we are trying to develop that mood of servitude to serve. So that way, whichever rasa we are in, we can serve in that particular rasa like that. That will come later on as we advance. That rasa will be revealed as we get to spontaneous devotional service like that we heard in previous verses, right? So that we can have patience and confidence and practice devotional service nicely as recommended by acharyas and guru. That way we can progress nicely. So we can pause there at 83rd verse. Essentially, we heard today about how Ramananda Rai and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were discussing about what is the higher and higher stages of devotion service. And they came to the pure devotion service, which is performed by devotees in the spiritual world, like Gopas, and then it went to different rasas we discussed, like after Sakya Rasa is Vatsalya Rasa as parents like Nanda Maharaj and Sudamataji, and then Madhurya Rasa being the topmost like that. So that's what we discussed today. We'll continue again from there. Even after coming to this topmost rasa of Madhurya Rasa, uh, Lord Chaitanya asks him to further glorify. Go further, he says. What is that further beyond? We'll see again tomorrow's session. We'll pause there. Sri Chaitanya Chaitamja ki jai, Krishnadas Karaj Goswami ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, and suffer obeisance to all the devotees of the Lord. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kupasindubhyevacha Paritana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Thank you so much, devotees. Hare Krishna. So around 7 o'clock, in a couple of minutes, we'll start the Bhagavad Gita discussion. But until that